Welcome back to SoCap Talks, helping innovators build tomorrow today. Now here's your hosts, Devin Kearns and Eric Sutphin.
All right, and welcome back to SoCap Talks. This week, we are talking about the future of marketing. We have a special guest, Antonio from JuJo, the founder, coming in all the way from Italy. Actually, that's where you guys originated, but you are now Colorado-based, out of Boulder, Colorado, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming down and spending some time with us. We're really excited to hear about JuJo and what that means for the future of marketing, its implementations and possibilities of what other companies and the community at large can be able to see and use JuJo in action. So today we'll talk really about the primary platform and the multiple uses of it. So can you just give the audience a little bit of context as to the different categories and the different softwares behind JuJo, and then we can discuss about where it's going and what the future looks like.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me over and having this possibility to talk in front of this distinguished audience is a great opportunity for us. So JuJo has a mission to innovate in the area of marketing, and this is very much in tune with what we want to do. The idea is to be able to offer different new ways to convey marketing collaterals using a technology that has been around for a while. And we can embed that technology with additional opportunities that would make marketing a lot more interactive and engaging, especially for businesses.
Is this the EPUB 3 that you're talking about?
Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, there's the possibility of putting in a single vehicle everything that a marketing campaign would like to convey. So multimedia, contents, of course, video, audio, text messages, but we can move forward with additional outlets towards 3D models, maps, interactive maps, and the like. The idea is to have a vehicle that is a lot more interactive than what we are used to, and at the same time offer that interaction opportunity to the end user of that object. And you're right, it's an EPUB 3. Normally when you talk about EPUB 3, the only thing that comes to mind is ebooks, because they were designed, this technology was designed with that in mind.
So for those that are not aware of ePublications or EPUB 1 or even 2, tell the audience a little bit about the practical implications of EPUB 3. What are perhaps some uses or ways that the market has thus far used it or potentially could use it?
Well, there has been an extensive usage of EPUB 3 in its own domain area, which is publishing. EPUB 3 is the evolution of EPUB, and EPUB 2 is the very first standard that was out. The idea behind was to embed well-known web technologies, and namely the HTML5, the CSS, Cascading Style Sheet 3 version, and JavaScript into a single standard that can bring forward all the characteristics of a typical book. The forest spine, a table of contents, a set of pages, and so forth. The other concept that the EPUB 3 brought forward is the, in quote, staticity, the fact that the content is actually done forever, not to be changed, like we've been used for 500 years since the book has made its way on our own desk for knowledge transfer. So it is starting from the idea of how you can do storytelling that we actually crafted around the opportunity, the possibility that EPUB 3 may offer in different domains, marketing being one of them.
So the problem, let me see if I understand this, is in the past, traditionally, you write an ebook or you write a book, translate it into an ebook, and it's done. Essentially, now you just attach an ISBN to it and you can start selling it, view it on your Kindle, view it on your tablet, but that story never really is able to be continued or carry on. You, as a user, it's just a one-way street. You're not actually able to contribute to that. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is exactly correct.
So all those Harry Potter fans.
It's a format. It's another way to have a book being distributed around.
So with your platform, all the Harry Potter fans could be able to comment or attach videos. They could be able to carry on a conversation, whether it be about a spell or why Gryffindor should have won that game, right? They could be able to continue the dialogue.
Potentially,
Or recipe
yes.
books, perhaps far more practical. Recipe books, people could provide their own input on variations for recipes, whether it be temperatures or gluten-free recipes, right? People could be able to modify and share their own input, which historically they haven't been able to do.
That is absolutely correct, and it is potentially so with some string attached, of course. The content is supreme, and so is the owner of that content. So there are copyright issues that needs to be handled, and one way that this can be done in a secure way is using the latest blockchain technologies, so that attribution is certain. And in any case, modification of an existing content can be done if the original content owner, publisher, or writer would authorize that to happen, so that this becomes, in effect, a new format that you can use. And it is what we call an augmentable format, something that if the author, writer, publisher allow for, then when you buy that format, you are entitled to do your own modification. Look, this is no different than what you would do when you go to the library and get your own paper book. That's your own copy. You do what you want with that. You put, little notes, you can, highlight stuff, and, and things of that sort. Yeah. And you apologize, my hands, but being Italian, this is difficult to do.
You're talking with your hands as well, huh?
Very much, very much.
Speaking of which, I got to say, above all else, I wish we sounded as cool as he does, I'm sure, to the audience with the Italian accent. We just have the boring English accents, and it's fun listening to you because I feel a lot more engaged, and I'm trying to take in every word, so it's pretty amazing. Out of curiosity, explain a little bit more, if you would, what the blockchain dynamic is to that. Is it kind of an approval across the board? What is that?
Well, it is kind of a novel technology. Now it's coming under the light because it's bringing forward the opportunity for cryptocurrency. What blockchain does is unbreakable, and again, in quote, anything that is under the sun on internet is breakable by definition. But it is an unbreakable chain of documents that are fully authorized and confirmed. And so once you are part of that chain, the entire history of that document or currency exchange is kind of official and cannot be changed. So you can adapt that to a number of usage. One that is very dear to us is a certain attribution, so that you are able to know what modification that document will follow along its path. So this is important in this one context. There are others in which you can use the blockchain again. From our standpoint, the basic idea is that we plan to offer a new format that would offer, in a number of scenarios, opportunities for augmentation. So typical situation is, think of a mother and she's used to read aloud the story to the kids at night, but she's a service woman, and now she is serving in a faraway country. So what she can do is she can buy the augmentable format of the favorite story, and then add her own voice recording to that story. This is not a read aloud. This is a different thing, because now it's the mother voice that you are adding into the book. You make it personal. You publish again that book on your own terms and send it home, and now it's dead, opening the book and having the kids listening to their very mom voice, we think that this is one situation in which this can be interesting. There are, of course, other opportunities in storytelling within an educational settings in which a teacher can do augmentation to explain difficult concepts so the kids can bring that home and have that available at home. So when it comes to storytelling, the platform that JuJo is bringing forward is attempting to go into this direction.
So the blockchain is essentially a security mechanism for whoever is modifying and adapting the content within that e-publication. It allows it to be secure for their changes, revisions, and edits.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say it's quite unbreakable. I think if you give it to Devin here, he
Yeah.
probably will be able to break it. So
I was
I
hinting
keep
to
it out of
that.
his hands.
I was
I'd break
hinting
the
to that.
computer by dropping it. I wouldn't break the chain.
No, but so for authors, this has got to be really exciting. I mean, not only just for users, yes, whether it be a mom reading on travel or vacation or whatever the case may be, to be able to have a personal experience with their family and sharing that story. But for authors, this has got to be something that they can get feedback from, right? I'm thinking in a marketing application, very practical if we were to avoid the Harry Potter idea of people contributing and go more towards the recipes or even
Travel's a good one.
travel, hiking, climbing, right? There are a lot of people in Colorado where it's very active. They want to be able to go and explore 14ers. And if you're going on a 14er this weekend and you can take some photos and you can say, oh, this trail was blocked because of inclement weather or a flood, wiped out this bridge, make sure that you avoid this. Now users can be able to contribute as a whole or individually. They can keep it for their own personal use or they can share to the entire publication. And that's got to be really rewarding for authors because now they can get user feedback on perhaps what to write next or what their users are wanting to be able to see for the next version of that book.
That's correct. That's another possible scenario that you can employ the technology for. There are other opportunities there that are related to the fact that you have actually a dynamic content in front of you. So much as you add voice or text, you can add other things to the document, and you can do that on the onset. So that the word book is a little tight for this type of vehicles.
Right, it's constraining because it's a dynamic book. It's a living, breathing, evolving. So outside of the book classification and realm, share with us some of the things that you're excited about as you're exploring the possibilities and as you're conversing with companies. What are some of the uses that you're seeing where this is going to change the marketplace, whether it be internally within a company or externally in marketing application? What are some of the things that you've heard from those that they're excited about?
Well, one of the buzzwords right now is augmented reality and virtual reality. We all know about that, and the whole idea about those technologies is to be able to offer a additional context or offering additional information while you're moving around, carrying on your task. So using this format is offering us a new opportunity to bookmark bits and pieces of that original content that now can become available while we are actually involved in day-to-day activities. So we are developing technologies that would offer an outlet towards augmented reality application in which the basis platform is offering that context in situation where your geographical position is relevant or depending on the type of access device you have, meaning whether it is a phone, a smartphone, a tablet, or even, augmented reality goggles. So we are developing interfaces that would allow us to browse and read, or in any case, access this content in those contexts. Now, why augmented reality is relevant is clear, because you have the opportunity to receive information that you may be interested in while you are close to the act of using that information, which is different from anything else we are used in the world of advertisement, right? Normally you receive that ahead, or you receive that out of context, and that is what bothers us for the most of the time.
Right, but here, as a user, I have the choice whether I want to engage and how I engage. And if it can go down this rabbit hole of from one video to an article to a promotional code to actually purchasing it, I can go as far down that rabbit hole as I desire, right? I think
As a user.
as a user.
Absolutely. Being full in control of, what is the course of action that you want to take on the content that you are being offered. The point is that you receive content that in theory is supposed to be more relevant to you because of what you are trying to do. Of course, that opens another wormhole, right?
Exactly. To me, it's interesting because the way I'm visualizing this, if we go back to that travel analogy, let's say I really want to go to Scotland. So I'm going to pick up this publication around Scotland. I'm reading it on the JuJo platform. And as I'm reading about it, I get an interactive experience from other people that have been on that journey. I get to see all the hot spots. But then while I'm there and actually participating in some of those journeys that I chose out of the storyline, while in Scotland, I get to interact with the book even deeper, correct? So, and
Yes.
some of that interaction in regards to marketing could be sponsored interaction as I am geographically located in that right spot. So that restaurant gets to advertise to me through the publication as I'm walking down that street that I really wanted to see the traditional Scotland experience. And that pub's right around the corner, and that pub has a AR, augmented reality sponsorship within that publication.
Absolutely. Let's keep in mind the fact that with EPUB 3 and those type of e-publication, you have those on your pockets, on your smartphone or tablet. So it's really your property, and you can enhance them, as you desire. The moment in which those changes, those augmentation are pushed back towards the original content, that is when the owner, the publisher may have a say-so in that. But until that point, the new augmented product, you are free, to move it around.
I can see this really changing engagement, right? Back to this travel analogy, there is both sides of the coin that we got to look at. One, the marketer and the brand, and two, the consumer. But with the direction everything is going towards putting consumers first and being consumer-centric, you could allow for the user to share their experience, just like a Yelp or an Open Table. Users could be able to not only upload their photo, their experience, their reviews, but they could be heard in a meaningful conversation where now, from a marketer standpoint, they could say, share this or engage with us in this manner through this ad and receive X, Y, and Z. And so now it creates just another avenue for the consumer to be heard and for the marketer to get direct feedback through contextual advertising, through engagement that can actually be tracked, unlike perhaps print and magazines. And this could be actually done through magazines, through EPUB 3. You could track actually conversions and awareness and opens and click-throughs through EPUB 3 that historically haven't been able
to do so,
to be done. It's very ambiguous. You're spending advertising dollars on a magazine or on TV or Yelp without true awareness of what people's experience and engagement with your restaurant or establishment is in general. Whereas here, it's hyper-personalized. someone might be able to click on drinks while another can click on food, and you get to be able to track and customize those experiences.
Well, that goes a little into the technicality on what, for a marketer, is available on a platform like the one JuJo is going to provide. Because we are working mostly on web technologies, everything that we're used to do and we are capable of doing on the web, we can do into this new realm of the EPUB tree in your pocket. So there is an opportunity there, a real one and a big one, to actually being able to capture, what the user is doing with that content in a very direct way. So you are capable of analyzing and tracking down preferences, this time on the content that is being used. Mm-hmm. And this may in turn provide important information to the marketer, because you can see what works, what doesn't, and you can tailor in a better way your message later on. On the other end, this type of analytics can also be enhanced by another opportunities. Again, this is a web technology into a little space of a reader. You can enable a form filling. You can enable call to actions into your document, into your marketing brochure, that would trigger decisions from the user that you can analyze and take information from.
So where do you see this going? What are the limitations? It sounds like there are endless possibilities. In your eyes, what is the adoption rate? Because there's projections that augmented reality, the technology and the marketing, is a multi-billion-dollar industry in the coming years. Where do you see it going?
Well, augmented reality is projected to go all the way up to $120 billion for 2020. The overall combination of augmented reality and virtual reality application is going to reach $150 billion. So this target market is really huge, and you can combine that with the opportunity of offering content for those devices. Now, keep in mind that right now, most of the focus on augmented reality application is really into the mapping of the external 3D world into your view window, right? Mm-hmm. Your viewport, and therefore, most of the focus is right there. How do I map what I see with what I want to superimpose?
Like Pokemon Go.
For instance, exactly. Our idea is to define natural ways to interact in that frame, so that now you can use text, videos, and images in a way that are, for once, less occluding of the site that you have in front, and on the other hand, ways with which you can interact. Imagine, viewing a video that is on the side of your site, and you have the need to stop it or forward it because maybe it is a step-by-step procedure to make a recipe. Mm-hmm. You want to fast forward it, you want to go back, and you want to do this while your hands are busy with other things. So this is an area in which quite some research from the user experience standpoint is still needed. The point of having a platform like JuJo is going to enable the possibility of offering content in bits and pieces that can be used in that application scenario. Yeah. Normally, you have your recipe book on the side, and with your greasy hands, you have to flip through, right? Here, you want to do this in a different way. If we go back to that, that opportunity, there are other opportunities that really would come from partnering with companies like SoCap. We are very much interested into that, and we believe that some of the application of this technology may come from real business cases that marketing agency can bring forward, and we may have not envisioned yet in their full potential. Mm-hmm. So we welcome that partnership very much.
share with me, so with the blockchain securities and capabilities, this could be something perhaps that could solve issues even on a healthcare situation, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of security that needs to be surrounded, but if my doctor were able to see perhaps prescriptions or issues that were related to my hip and what was my documentation from multiple locations as I'm, traveling across the country, visiting multiple doctors, and they could just have an ongoing profile and record of x-rays and CAT scans and documents and information, that could be one opportunity for something like this, right?
Yes, and there are many companies that are also exploring directly that application area. Because besides, the security and certainty of the documentation, there are issues that are related with the privacy connected to sharing that type of information on the internet. So while our platform and technology can greatly enhance a conversation between the doctor and the patient that is not directly involving sensible information, maybe how to or indication prescription on how to behave, on how to better follow treatment, and the patient can collect their own journal of how the treatment is progressing. That is providing valuable information. Once we start entering into the handling of the actual health data, the domain becomes a little more sensitive. And of course, there are rules and regulations that needs to be used and applied.
I think that is where the healthcare industry is far more established when it comes to rules and regulations. If we go back to just being able to view ads or companies that are wanting to engage with a consumer, I can see in the coming years how equally, while there's not many limitations on use of that now, how that could become a major issue where you're constantly being inundated with 3 to 5 push notifications or a bombardment of ads that, while personalized, is just overwhelming and even disruptive to my experience as I'm walking through downtown or a new part of town. While perhaps that's not necessarily your forte of what you're dealing with, you're just providing the platform and the software. Where do you see the future of some of the legislation around this and the issues and privacy concerns that users are going to have, and where marketers are going to have to, bridge that gap of what is too far, how much is too much information in an augmented reality?
Well, I mean, this is a very good issue to address, and definitely I'm not the right person, to make a statement in that direction. There is a balance, and that balance, I think, must remain in the control of the user, because the moment in which my site is being occupied with new information, I need to be able to control what information is being provided, especially if I am doing that while I'm carrying on, other activities. And we know already that there are activities that are not a good match for this type of inundation. If you are driving, for instance, you cannot really be offered information that are not relevant to the fact that you are driving. So
it'd be a little dangerous.
Exactly. So I think that there is a lot that needs to be done in that area. There is a limitation definitely in the opportunity for marketers to share and use that data once that data start becoming personal property, right? My whereabouts and other things like that, they are already available, and we've been unable to limit the usage of that data as we speak. We know that for a fact. Our phones are tracking us,
Sure.
That information is connected with the website you see, with the telephone calls you may make, and things like that. So it is difficult not to imagine a situation in which a better regulation is offered in that area.
So it's not abused.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So to that point, for those that aren't aware, I'll just share, like when Facebook, right? Facebook or Google, if you have those open, are listening to you because they're listening for the equivalent of a "Hey Siri." That's why advertisements will be populated after you start talking about hotels or whatever it is. In augmented reality in this platform, I see in marketing that this actually could give more power back to the brand, because now they're not dependent on using these massive websites like Google and like Facebook to be able to push
Their own
media
content.
and content to their users. Now they're able to engage with their consumer as they walk past their storefront, or as they hover over a business card, or a myriad of applications that is actually dictated by the brand, not by Facebook or Google.
That's an opportunity that is readily available as we speak. There are this technology is already out of the door and can be used to do to realize a number of applications in that direction. The brand has the opportunity to control a lot better the interaction with the final user, especially because their content is going to be actively deployed towards them. And if augmentation is enabled, that augmentation means that user feedback is going to be collected as well in a fully acknowledged way. So definitely there are opportunities there. Yes.
So most exciting probably would be retailers. People that actually have brick and mortar storefronts could have icons or augmented reality that drive people into the store, or even as they're now shopping, instead of perhaps going to Amazon and searching for the best price, they're hovering over, seeing a video or real world application of said product within their store, and then are able to look at reviews, purchase, and get the information that they are perhaps looking on Amazon or looking on third-party sites anyways, but now they're able to get that experience and that information right then and there. And so this has got to be really exciting for retailers to be able to use.
Well, that's one side of it. The other side of it is to use the same exact application in a combined situation in which, in addition to retailer-related information, you can also offer cultural type of information. So that the augmented reality application, in those cases in which it's subsidized or patronized by a local authorities, can be something that is offering contextual information and videos and images about the history of a place, and at the same time relating that with the time of the day or the potential interest in doing something, entering information on the local businesses that are available in that particular area, so that you combine a utility of learning about the place, seeing what it is available to be seen, with the fact that local businesses have an opportunity, once they know these people are around, to push forward their own offering. And this is particularly sensible for restaurant and street food licensees that can do direct push in that direction.
You're living within the story minute by minute as you're walking down the street.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I think this is a great transition. We've been talking a lot about external application and marketing and using it for the consumer. I think from a business standpoint, there's a lot of application internally as well that could be used around education or within organizations internally. Sales processes, right? Sales processes constantly evolve, and whether it be a new product or a new food that's on the menu, the ability for a company internally to be able to evolve that story and give salespeople or servers a ongoing story about that menu or about a sales process and documenting the relationship, just like a CRM, but live. Do you see where I'm going here, Devin?
I do. Well, I see the whole picture of how it interacts and how I can not only engage with the environment wherever I'm at, but I can also see how it matters to me, because my story is different than your story, and while I'm experiencing this, it's catered to my journey, and yet I still gain the history of the environment. I still gain the story behind the food that I'm eating. I still gain all of the information, but in a way that is also applicable to me. So the interactivity is actually and I guess this is the thing I'd ask about the augmented piece and the interactive piece. As the data is collected according to the things I'm clicking on, the experience that I'm having over time, let's say on this vacation, the content then adjusts, not necessarily the main content, that core content, but the experience of what it might know that I care about. So in other words, I'm more of a history buff. It knows that, so it's going to lean that direction in that experience. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. That is, once you start combining machine learning, and profiling in that direction, so that those tools start becoming a lot more of an assistant to you, right?
Yeah.
In which those information are collected and can offer, once you are on the move again, similar experiences. But again, we need to be cautious on that, because we are also, as humans, like to change and like to experience different things. Seldomly we repeat the same thing over and over again. So my point there is that the content is the king in this game.
Yeah.
So if brand center their activity around valuable content for the final user, they'll make those users part of the brand.
Yeah.
And I think that we have been already witnessing some of those ideas around with videos and marketing campaign. That Instagram, for instance, is a great example in that direction, in which you collect those feedback and you feed people depending on the feedback you receive. The EPUB 3 is another opportunity right in that direction. So you have the possibility of creating content that is more engaging and using that to collect more feedback from your user base.
So I'd be curious, going back to your mission, your vision with JuJo, what do you get most excited by? What are you really excited to see unfold from that bigger vision?
Well, it's a very good question. We've been moving a little bit around, because we started mainly around the storytelling idea, to realize that there's a lot more to be gained, to be able to change in the real marketing arena. Marketing is not just dedicated to end user, but as you mentioned, there's a lot to gain in inside a business when you look, for instance, for large businesses to their VAR area, the value-added reseller chain. There you have opportunities, because you can actually offer the concept of an evergreen content that can be reused, repurposed, and especially adaptable. It is adapted easily to the needs of the channel. So you have the opportunity to disrupt an area in which technologies like the PDF has been king for the past 10 years, right? Despite the fact that they are prominently static.
Yeah.
So now there are, for us, there is a real opportunity in trying to push the adoption of this technology much the same way Acrobat and Adobe did with Acrobat in the 90s, at the end of the beginning of 2000, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we see there. And the application space is really limitless. There are also opportunity if we move in another arena, which is the Internet of Things arena, where large machine talks to other machine, and there is the need to provide information in real time to the people that have to maintain and handle those machines. So that's another arena in which the combination of augmentable content and augmented reality can really serve a big purpose as well.
I think that's really interesting. We were just entertaining a conversation around our employment branding and how empowering your employee is extremely important, and having a diversity of ways to be able to communicate and engage, not only top down, but bottom up, right? And how I can see JuJo in this application would allow for, we'll go back to a retailer example. Someone learns how to fold a t-shirt 3 times faster across all retail places. That could save hours of time. And if they had the ability to record themselves doing this in 60 seconds, it's recognized now by them. They could be rewarded, because now it's not upper management saying, hey, go ahead and fold it this way. One of your peers and colleagues are able to record this, upload it into the operating manual or procedures on how to best do this procedure. And now everyone from either coast is able to see this information and implement it twice as fast.
And that person feels recognized for it, as well as now the company has intellectual property that they now own that affected that procedure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as simple as that to as complicated as sales procedures and training. I mean, you could more or less automate a large amount of an onboarding process through videos and tutorials and trainings that ultimately are led by your peers and colleagues.
Correct, and the fact that is you relate with those changes, because they don't feel like detached and away from what you do, but are more coming from people that are doing the same thing, and you can leverage on that to improve on your own performances. So definitely this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting because I look at the when we talk about internal dynamics within a company, so many companies understand that at a certain point they become a living, breathing entity on its own. But with the stagnant and static issue of deliverable content, and that content can't grow the same way a company can grow, you end up being paralyzed, right? The handbook, the information, the intellectual property, the time at which information can be shared becomes stagnant when you go back to that PDF format, and it's got to be written out, and there's no ongoing dialogue. It can't grow with the company. It can't grow with the culture of the company. It can't grow with the vibe and energy of the company. And so as those things shift, which they do when you go from 20 employees to 50 employees to 150 employees, and new products and new systems and new procedures, if it's able to grow at the same fluidity that the company is growing, I see so much power in that. And that's huge. I would say that that should be the number one dynamic of being able to utilize JuJo and look at it internally, because that will then change your external messaging in the sales of the product and services, and how it gets implemented into the consumer's information is just an extended version of what's happening internally.
Absolutely, and we look forward to that potential to fully unfold. We are at the beginning of this path,
Yeah.
right? And so many...
Chapter 1, if you will.
Chapter 1, exactly.
Yes.
So,
Well, that's a very exciting time. I think that we have just scratched the surface here as well in this conversation. You've lit some light bulbs, and we're seeing applications that we could use, but I'm sure audience as well has a bunch of ideas that they can as well. And I'd be really curious, I'd invite you that are listening to whether it be in the comment section of YouTube, on our site, or within the podcast environment. Share some of the practical implementations that you can see, and provide JuJo some feedback for avenues that they could be able to expand in that we haven't even addressed here, because I think that there's a myriad of them, and a platform like this is going to be dynamic and grow off of that user feedback.
Absolutely, we would welcome that very much, as a matter of fact.
Where can they learn more about what you're doing so that they can engage with you and
First thing is the website.
Yep.
So www.JuJoTech.com. It's going to be available for everybody as a first stop in learning about that.
You have a lot of resources, PDFs, videos, the like on there that they can be able to see this in practice.
Yes. We are developing that, and we are also trust that our partnership will bring more into that direction, right?
Yes,
because we are a technology platform, a technology company, and so we rely very much on those creative brains that put together content.
Well, we are very grateful to have that partnership with you, and we're excited to see what the future holds. And I know you've got a billion-dollar vision here, so we're excited to watch it unfold, and everybody listening needs to stay tuned as well so that you can join their journey and share in the journey as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. Audience, thank you for tuning in to another episode of SoCap Talks. Stay tuned in and tapped in to ever-changing market of marketing technologies.